Hello, procrastinators!
And hello, relatively active people. I don't know. We still haven't worked this out.
And welcome to the Nerd³ podcast, episode 38-ish, probably. I don't fucking know.
Something around that mark. I have no idea what it is either. I've stopped numbering them. I've started monthing and yearing them.
Oh, good. So this was the one for this year.
So this is the one for February 2015.
It's March.
Well, it will go up in March, but it was supposed to be in February. But we've kept delaying it because we're working on Project Glint.
Yeah.
And so we haven't actually got around to recording it. So
it's episode 5.
This is a late February one.
Yes. It's a leap year special. Is it a leap year?
I have no idea.
You can't be asked to Google it. People listening to this, who gives a toss?
It's not, because leap years are always even numbers, and this is an odd number.
15 is an even number.
Okay. It's not all even numbers either. It's 50% of even numbers, but it's definitely never an odd number.
No, it's not. 15 is an even number because 5 goes into it 3 times. What's 5 plus 8? 5 plus 3 is 8. And 8 is an even number. And it's every 4 years, so that 8, yeah, it's a leap year.
Cool. So I was going to start with a fun fact.
That is how I did exams. Like, if I had an exam, and there was you had to prove something, I'd write the proof at the bottom. I'd start at the top where I thought I had to start, and then I'd work backwards and forwards at the same time. I just hope at some point they match up, and as soon as they match up, bam, I got the answer right. Yep. And sometimes they would go off on some serious tangents and overlap slightly, and it was weird.
Yeah, I think we've all done that. Good mathematicians, once you get to a certain point, you have to do that. It's sort of work towards the middle and hope they match up. So, I was going to start off with a fun fact, but after you saying an awful lot of stuff that wasn't true, I'm worried people won't believe me.
Okay.
So, I have a fun fact. So, for those of you who don't know, this isn't the fun fact, this is the preamble. Okay. Me and Dan, we met at St Thomas More High School for Boys, where we both spent 7 years, 8 years.
Can I just quickly inject something? Right, this happened to me this morning. I'll tell this little slide. Sorry, I woke up this morning and I went because I had a little bit of a thought of everything's going well. I've got a good video schedule going now. Things are going well. I'm actually up to date with this almost 2 videos a day thing. Everything's great. And then a tiny bit of my brain went, yeah, we have to go back to school in a few months. And I believed it. For the briefest second, I went, oh shit, what am I going to do? I'll have to leave school. Hang on a second. No, I'm far too old now. That's not a thing that happens. It's how Sundays feel really bad to me because I'm school tomorrow. But it's not. It feels it's whenever I hear the Antiques Roadshow theme tune, I'm like, no! But it's not. It's a genuine...
I don't know what the Antiques Roadshow's got to do with anything.
Sunday, 7 p.m. It's on every Sunday. And every time I hear it, I'm like, well, that's the weekend over.
Yeah, I always get bummed out on Sundays, despite the fact that I no longer go to any church or anything and no longer have any real reason why I should or shouldn't work on Sundays or Mondays, or we're pretty free to make up our own timetables.
I'm not. I work every fucking day. That's my thing.
Well, that's true, but
I'll go mad.
But that's your choice.
Yep.
So again, Sunday doesn't make any difference. Yep. So yes, my fun fact about St Thomas More.
Yes.
So during our time at St Thomas More, what do you know about St Thomas More?
He was God's servant first.
There we go. That
was the thing. That was written on our fucking shirts, though.
No, you're right. That was our motto.
Yeah, it was much more glorious in Latin. Posti etemen notit.
Do you remember?
Notit. Fucking, I'm not even trying with that.
Do you remember anything else?
He was a man.
He was, yep.
Who was murdered or murdered.
Something like that, yeah.
And something Henry VIII wives divorced.
This is it. Died. This is it. Yeah. So he objected to the divorce of Henry VIII, and so that was but that was what we got every single year. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a stupid footnote in the world. Okay. Mm-hmm. Someone Henry VIII did some stuff, and some bloke didn't like it. It's pretty unimportant. And then I stumbled across, while I was doing some research, the fact that Sir Thomas More, who is also St. Thomas More,
yes,
wrote the book Utopia, which is the first use of the word utopia, and created was a novel about. Bearing in mind, this is in the Tudor time. This is when a novel didn't really exist because there was no printing press. So it's a novel written in Latin, but it's about a mythical island that doesn't really exist, and where perfection lives, and where everyone is equal and everyone's happy. It's basically a piece of science fiction. He's basically the earliest sci-fi writer, and we never knew.
Oh, why didn't we know that shit? I would have been happy.
Like, there's me stumbling across this going, wow, he was a really interesting person if you ignore all this god guff. Even being sort of, a religious person, on his perfect island of Utopia, everyone except for the atheists were equal regardless of religion. And atheists were fairly equal, but they were looked down upon by the rest of society. But other than that, he even, bearing in mind, Tudor time, at this time, Henry VIII is getting pissed off at all his wives because they wouldn't give him a son. Mm-hmm. He went around saying, oh no, all sexes are equal. And decided to, and this is one of the beautiful part, he himself is a lawyer, but decided that the law should be so simple that no one needs a lawyer.
I like him. Why don't I go to school with this guy?
I know, right? And instead, every year, all we got was, and he didn't do... Catholics ruin everything. Okay, so that was my fun, interesting fact. Now on to...
hang on, do you think then that in that episode of Doctor Who, Utopia, they're actually just going back to our old school?
Probably.
Oh my god, that's where the master came from. Wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, carry on.
I was going on to game news now.
Well, that was all the things. Game news, yeah.
That was all my fun facts, yeah.
Fun facts. Hang on, game. I'm not really into it. So I'll tell you what just happened. I just came off of a crap recording session.
Okay.
It was quite. It was something. I've been trying to get the game Payday 2 to work on PS3. Now, when you're trying to get a console game to work.
Your options are a bit limited, really.
Yeah, you're having some issues there. It wasn't trying to get it to work. It's just the first time because I was trying to play it for a Father and Sunday. First time we tried to play it, I can't remember what the first. There was a problem the first time. Second time, the game just took far too long to download, so we never got around to it. The third time, it needed a patch, and the patch was 6 gigs, and it took 24 hours or some shit because of Sony's useless servers. And every single time we try and play this, it constantly stopped us. And today, we finally got around. Just a few hours ago, we finally got around to playing it. And twice, midway through a match, we just drop out. And we only had 4. Uh-huh. And I just was so frustrated. And I completely rage quit the video. And it's going to be quite fun. But it is... It's one of those things I just like... Because literally, it doesn't kick me out of the network. The no pop-up says you've been kicked out of the PlayStation Network. So I'm still connected to the internet. It's just the game's netcode is awful. People in Ukraine right now look at this netcode and go, well, at least we're not that unstable. That's the level of instability we're going for now. Anyway, yeah, sorry. That's just I'm because I was normally doing my songs and dance, but right now I just want to gorge myself on M&Ms and end it all.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, talking about things going badly, I'm a huge fan of bad interviews.
Uh-huh.
Normally, this is more sort of, I particularly like it when interviewers lose control of what's going on and the interviewee takes over. However,
this is why Jonathan Ross is such a delightful watch.
It's one of the reasons I particularly like Jonathan Ross, because when he's doing his job right, he's boring as anything. but when he's completely loses track of his the show, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
This is one of the few times that I've enjoyed it where the interviewer has completely owned the interviewee. Mm-hmm. Game Informer has run a whole load of interviews with the Tomb Raider team, and it is hilarious. So this is for the new Tomb Raider game.
Yeah.
And the interviewer, I can't tell if he's doing it on purpose. I think he must be. It's just really digging into him. And he's sort of doing things like they're talking about how there's going to be more puzzling because there was no puzzling in the last one. And they were like, oh, we're going to put more puzzling. We heard everyone say that. And he's like, okay. But then he's sort of asking, he's just putting the leading questions in, like so are you basically just going to put complicated puzzles away from the main storyline so no one can do it? And they're like, well, and you can just see him struggle to say, yes, that is exactly what we've done. And things like, and talking about the narrative, and they're talking about sort of Lara Croft killing things. And they were talking about it in the person saying, oh, so this time we decided that you could try and hunt down really rare animals, and then that would give you more special upgrades, which you have to have hunted this very rare animal. And then later on they're going, so Lara Croft enjoys killing people, and he's like, no. He's like, oh, just enjoys killing animals then. He's like, no. He's like, well, why is she going out of her way to find rare animals to kill them? Like, clearly. Yeah. And it's just such a great, particularly because game interviewees are game developers are generally bad at being interviewed. But just watching this guy trying to say the right thing over and over again, and you can kind of see him go, look, I've been told I have to say that we've fixed all of these problems. And he does a really good job of explaining exactly why his game is awful, but doesn't do a really good job of actually making me believe that he's fixed any of it. So I am fairly convinced that the next Tomb Raider game is going to be more of the same. And I don't think that there's anything's changed. But if you enjoy watching someone struggle through it, check out some of Game Informer's interviews. They're quite funny.
Did you see the Rock, Paper, Shotgun Peter Molyneux interview?
I didn't.
Oh. It is the meanest interview. Like the opening question, right, to Peter Molyneux. Peter Molyneux, who is well known for not living up to expectations.
Yeah.
Okay? Who's always, when people interview, because he's such a legend in the industry, always very gently, very soft sort of interviewing. This is the opening question.
I have to be honest.
Molyneux.
You tell me it's an interview with me, Peter Molyneux. I'm already expecting it to be a game changer, the sort of interview that interviews will no longer be the same thing and will completely make me rethink interviews as we know them.
Okay. I'm going to tell you this opening question, and you may actually be right with some of those statements. The opening question to Peter Molyneux is, do you think you're a pathological liar? Now, that sets the tone for what is the longest interview I've ever bothered to read entirely all the way through. Where
it's a very close question, because you have to say no either way. It's like, if you are a pathological liar, you have to say no.
Weirdly, Peter says yes. No, it is a very... It's almost borders on the mean, but it's the sort of interview Peter Molyneux I think he kind of needed. Because, have you heard what's happened with Curiosity now?
No. I've stayed away from him for a while.
Curiosity, which was the rejuvenation of the God game, which was basically we all thought going to be sort of a HD populace, and is now a free-to-play mobile phone piece of shit even on the computer. It's not free-to-play on the computer, but it still plays like a free-to-play piece of mobile shit. Like you need the gem currency in the PC version, and you get it by sacrificing your
Hang on, you said Curiosity.
Not Curiosity.
You mean Goddess?
Sorry. Yeah, I get confused,
That's fine.
I get confused with the pieces of shit he's farted out recently.
I just wanted to make sure, because I was getting a bit confused.
I'm talking about Goddess.
Goddess,
I don't
fine.
know. I wonder if Curiosity, they sort of rebooted it and just kept running it, or if it's just a dead app now. I have no idea. I don't care.
Anyway.
So, there was a lot of things, because they've gone completely silent for a while, and there'd been no updates, and there were a few articles about Phoenix going, hey, what's going to happen? What's going on with Curiosity? No, fucking Goddess. Brain, gee, I'm going to write that on a post-it note if necessary. What's happening with Goddess? And it turns out there's now only, out of 22 cans, which is the company that's making it, 2 people are working on Goddess, and the rest have moved on to a new game. Goddess, which is something like 40% finished. And they've just... Basically, Peter's not working on it anymore. He's sort of abandoned it. And he's talking, like, in all the interviews, he was talking in the past tense about how it's a failure. Like, normally the Peter Molyneux cycle is hype something up, it's a colossal failure, shit on it, calling it a colossal failure, while hyping the next game up. But he's sort of jumped ahead of the cycle, really, before this one's even finished.
Hang on, wasn't this kickstarted?
Yes, it was!
How can you be a failure? Surely you build to the budget of the Kickstarter.
You see, if sometimes when Kickstarters don't hit their budgets, I'm like, look, I can see why you've gone wrong. Like, if you, the sake of someone like Tim Schafer who hadn't planned for the giant budget, or a new indie dev, I'd be like, look, I can see why you cock this up. But Peter Molyneux, who has been making God games pretty much his entire life, you think he would know the budget.
Yeah.
Just slightly. And if not, make up a number, times it by 3, and that's probably the budget.
You say that, but Tim Schafer is making an adventure game, which is basically what he always does, and could only afford half the game, and then had to start funding it himself.
Yes.
Though in his defense, he's making a good adventure game and is funding it himself. So,
and in an even better defense, it's pretty much finished. They're just putting the final touches on it. It's been beta form already.
It is, yeah.
So it's essentially done. See, that's what I like. Yeah, Tim eventually makes it, but so this goddess is just essentially now a dead product. That he's talking like it's a dead product, and it's 40% finished, and it's like the backers, the people who backed it on Kickstarter, haven't got like their art book and stuff like that, and this other stuff, like the actual rewards they haven't got.
Yeah,
that's going to be interesting, because normally if you say we're backing this thing and you don't get the thing, then that's fine. But if you went for a specific reward, that's going to be Basically, don't trust Kickstarters very much, unless there's someone who's made a product before. See, the best Kickstarters for me are the ones that are sort of like, we've done this, and now we're going to make this, but bigger. So like Superhot or something like that. I've gone, okay, I know for a fact you can make this, because you've made this already, and a bigger version sounds great, you've already made this, you've got the slice, you can work it out, there you go.
Yeah, I have to admit, unless it's someone like Tim Schafer, I at least want a demo of your game before the Kickstarter. And I know it sounds harsh, but I need to be able to see what it is and work out what it feels like beforehand. And it does require that front-end investment from you. Yeah.
For me, sort of, in my opinion, for game development, I don't actually ever look at Kickstarter anymore. Like, it's sort of, like, because I had Planetary Annihilation, which is finished now, but is a buggy pile of arse. Yeah. Like, you load up a map and nothing has textures, and you're like, oh, joy. It doesn't quite... There's a great game somewhere under all the bugs, and I hope they dig them out fast enough. You've got Tim Schafer, who took forever. He's made it. I will give that to him, that he's actually made the damn thing. And the first half was fucking fantastic in every way.
In Tim Schafer's defense, the fact that it took forever was because he got a huge budget.
Yes, he did get, like, way more than he thought. And he then scaled the game up to a much bigger game.
Yeah, and the next part is the where does money go in games? It goes on either getting more people on the project or on the people spending longer on it. And if it was a question between when I backed that game, would I rather have Tim Schafer writing more of the game, or would I rather have had them bring in a new writer instead of Tim Schafer to do half of the plot? I definitely want Tim Schafer spending twice as long in it, and that does mean that you end up with a slower game cycle.
Yeah, I mean, because Tim does work on all the little games that come out. He's sort of like he's the artistic director, I think, on everything, or like artistic producer or something. So he has every game that comes out of Double Fine has Tim's touch on it. That's sort of his thing. So you have stuff... Massive Chalice was kickstarted, and that's apparently very good and does very well. I haven't actually touched that yet. I should get around to it. They just finished Grim Fandango. Double Fine are doing a lot, actually, thinking about it now.
Well, that's because they've now gone into doing smaller games, which is brilliant.
Yeah,
because you get more of them rather than... And they're cheaper as well, which makes them a lot easier to sell. Particularly because what he really does well is create these wonderful worlds you want to get involved in. But often lacks gameplay. It's getting less the case, but there's definitely things like Brutal Legend, where you're there going, okay, gameplay, it's awful, but it is one of the best looking open world games, because you don't have any other rock and roll album cover based open world games. Like, nothing is comparable to it.
Yeah, that's why I loved him.
That's why I love Tim as well.
I may not like every bit of this game, but the bits I like, I'm going to fucking love. Like, there's no one with the vision of Tim Schafer. There's no one with the balls to make something that just isn't a brown generic war shooter like Tim Schafer. Like, because he generally just he looks at the thing and goes, I want to make this thing, and then makes it. And it's weird and sometimes not perfect, but, you know, It's different. I like different, and it's.
I have to be honest. I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping a new Amnesia Fortnite is going to come out after Broken Age comes out.
After Curiosity.
After Curiosity, yeah. But I have to admit, sometimes my biggest complaint with a Tim Schafer game is always, is it weird enough? Because that's kind of like what I want from a Double Fine game. And it's why I sometimes come up with ideas and say, that's a Double Fine game, rather than that's a game that could be produced by anyone. No, Double Fine has a style and a method, and that's what makes them wonderful. And is also what makes me buy games I would never touch otherwise, because Double Fine released them. And you're like, well, yeah, it's going to be funny. It's going to be crazy. Let's go for it.
Yeah. So, I just want more Tim Schafer games.
Yes.
In my life. And what I want, right, here's Peter Molyneux. You're not listening to this, but here's what you should do. Don't talk to anyone ever again. Forever. Don't, because it's right. Here's what I do. Like, when I write or come up with ideas, I go, here's a brilliant idea, and I talk to the people I'm working with about it, and they tell me why it's either an awful idea or that we can do it. There's no one in between Peter Molyneux and the press. Peter Molyneux goes, I've got a brilliant idea. Then goes, hey, the press, here's what I'm doing. And then goes, right, can we do that? And then they go, no. So Peter needs that person in between him and the press who says, no, that's just not a thing we can do.
Yeah.
That's all he needs. And then, right, so he has that person, and no, actually, in fact, he can't talk to anyone. He can't talk to anyone. He goes off and makes a game. Not a piece of shit mobile game like the last 3 he's made now. This new one, I think, is also a piece of shit mobile game. I know I don't say piece of shit when I say mobile game, but I like to add it for the people who still believe there's good games on mobile phones.
RPG.
Fuck off. There's a... Seriously, every time I say every mobile game is shit, people go, actually, this one isn't too shit, as a defense. It's fantastic.
I think FTL was pretty good, and I believe that's gone on to mobiles, hasn't it?
But that's gone onto mobiles.
Yeah.
The way you can tell that mobile games are piece of shit, look at the games that have gone onto mobiles, they're very good. Look at the games that have come from mobiles, they're very bad.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's the way around that goes. But no, so he doesn't talk to anyone. He makes a game. He builds a game that isn't trying to... What did he say about his new one? Yes, he thinks he can have a game that builds on feelings and emotions untapped so far. No, just make a game where you can throw people across a map. Like, you play as a big cow and you throw people across the map. That's black and white. Do that again. Just make a game that's a bit interesting, a bit silly. Don't try and make the best game ever, because you'll fail. Don't try and make a brand new, super unique experience. Just have new bits in there. Maybe think slightly in the box. Like, because sometimes you need to go slightly in the box. Like, normally it's like, let's think outside the box. But you need some bits still inside the box, otherwise the box just fucks off and no one knows what's going on. Then he just makes a game, and the day before it comes out goes, I made a game, and releases it. And everyone goes, Peter Molyneux, you did a thing. And then we'll let him talk for the next one, and this cycle will begin again.
And then other people can say, it's clearly a game that attempts to tap into emotions as yet undiscovered.
Yes!
Unfortunately, it turns out the reason we had discovered them is because nobody had them.
Why do I feel itchy? That's what it is. It's a game that makes you feel itch. I like the fact that I think itchy is an emotion. That says a little bit too much about me. But yes, so Peter, stop making pieces of shit and make good stuff, please. We know you can do it. Like, for a while you did it, and then everyone said, you're brilliant at making games, and you went, I'm brilliant at making games, and then did. He's like a child who was told he was a great artist at school, and now he's 35 and is still painting the same sort of things he did. No, he's painting new things. Anything I paint is gold. It's the Emperor's New Clothes situation. That's what it is. And someone finally told him he's a bit of a twat. But,
yeah, I think people have been telling him he's a bit of a twat for a while, but it's nice for someone to do it on such an intimate scale.
Yeah, it was that interview is far too vicious. Like, especially that opening question. I'm like, you don't need to do that. Like, because the rest of the interview is gloves off, punching in the face. That opening question was a little bit too harsh for me. Some people did enjoy it, but I think it's what he needed. Like, now he said he's never speaking to the press. I'm like, fantastic, don't, because that's where you fuck everything up. And don't, like, and when he was talking about his Kickstarter, I was like, yeah, we blatantly had to lie and say things we couldn't do with the Kickstarter model. That's its weakness. And they go, no, that's not a weakness. You just could say the truth and maybe you'd get it funded. And if you didn't get it funded, then maybe it's not a thing that many people would buy.
Yeah, I have to be honest, one of the reasons I didn't even back it is because I looked at it too quickly and went, oh yeah, you're never going to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I have no faith in you.
This is why, because he had a thing and he had a vision, he had all these CGI pre-render bullshit, and then you have something like Tim Schafer, and Tim Schafer went, I want to make an adventure game and my name is Tim Schafer.
Yeah.
And we all went, yes! You have the money! And he's made it. I'm very much looking forward to playing Broken Age Act 2.
I am too.
It's beautiful.
Okay, so there is a Kickstarter, which I'm not
going
to...
Kickstarter news? That's all this is. This is the Kickstarter podcast.
Apparently so. I don't actually want to recommend this. This is just, it had something interesting in its pitch that I don't think it's... that I thought was worth talking. It's an anti-Metroidvania. That's my phrase, not theirs.
Okay.
You start off with all your abilities, and then as you go through to heal the land, you have to give up some of your abilities. So you actually lose abilities as you go through the game. So you actually have to increase in skill to then redo things, but no longer with the abilities you had in the first place. It's called Netflix, and it seemed like an interesting idea. I don't think they've necessarily... they haven't shown me enough of a good game for me to think that the whole thing is worth it. Not that it looks like a bad game, just it doesn't quite look strong enough for me to go, okay, I'm going for that. But, I don't know, what's your thoughts on that?
I love that idea, because I want that idea applied to online first-person shooters, so I can actually play online first-person shooters.
I think you're right, that would definitely be a good thing for online first-person shooters.
Yeah, because as soon as the game goes, look at all the unlocks we have, I go, look at all the shits I won't give when I'm murdered by someone with a gun 20 times more powerful than mine that I can't even get near because I haven't put the requisite 40 billion hours into the game. I don't have time to play online. Like, I just find online so dull. Like, because it's so repetitive. Like, I can play online for a bit. Like, if I want to boot something up now online that isn't GTA with just stupid stuff, so I want to shoot some people, I'll boot up Titanfall. Because Titanfall's great, because the gun you start with is the best one, because it locks onto people.
Yes,
and then
it
you
does.
get slightly better things, and yeah.
Okay, and then other gaming news, which is also kind of linked to the Peter Molyneux thing, on things that I got really excited about and then ran out of energy. A game that I've been waiting over a decade for has finally come out on Steam. And I didn't buy it. So,
okay, what is it?
There was a game called Fractured Soul, which was originally supposed to come out on the DS.
Yes. Oh, it's got the split screen on Steam, doesn't it?
And it had split screen, and it jumps from... You basically jumped between two worlds, but it was originally 2D. And then because everyone pirated everything on the DS, it kind of got
so easy, yeah.
cancelled, and then someone said, oh, we'll let you make it, but make it for the 3DS. And then they had to remake the game, but they made it now with all in 3D, which meant they lost all of their artistic charm. So although the gameplay is virtually the same, it just looks like a crap 3D game. It looks like a PlayStation 1 game, rather than looking like a glorious pixel art game.
Yeah, it's hyper widescreen. Yeah, it's two screens on top of each other, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Because it's designed for the DS and the 3DS.
Yeah.
So I don't think it works on PC, and that's also a part of the reason why I've not exactly gone for it. But yeah, I just don't like low poly art. And a few games have been taking this as an artistic style recently. And despite the fact I like low pixel art, I love pixel art. So, you know, part of me clearly likes the older styles, but low poly art just always feels crap to me. Like, even things like Grow Home has done it recently, and I just don't like that sort of, we're going to remove all the texture to things.
So this is the point where I stab you, because Gone Home? Fucking brain. Grow Home is amazing!
I didn't say
I love its look. It looks gorgeous.
Okay. See, because
I like that look.
Yeah, that just rolls. I can't. I just don't quite get into it. I mean, I like the game. I think the game was very good. I really liked sort of the climbing mechanics and stuff. I only got about half of the way through, so I can't talk too much about anything else. But yeah, I mean, I liked the game. It's just part of me didn't really get into that low poly. I kind of had to get over that. And Double Fine are doing it with Massive Chalice as well. And again, it's I can get over it, but it's not... Whereas Pixar is simplified shapes. I like simplified shapes. But it's the low poly which kind of ends up with sort of jarring angles and things. And I just... It's not cubist enough to be cubist if we go in proper art terms. It's not a Picasso painting, but it's not sort of... Yeah, it's just... I would rather just sort of... Yeah, I like Pixar and simplified shapes. I don't like the hyperrealism. You don't have to do hyperrealism. I like stylized. But
yeah. Well, that's what I was about to say, is that low art... It works best for bright, colourful things. Like, Grow Home looks amazing because you have the bright blue sky, bright green beanstalk, you have the bright red little guy running and jumping around it. That looks gorgeous and beautiful. Something that looks serious sort of loses a little bit when it's... Because you want that detail.
Yeah.
If you're going for your greys and your browns, you want to have a little bit of detail there, just simply distinguish. Because you need to distinguish around your greys and your browns.
I agree, but I'm pro all games having more colour. Yes. There's no such thing as too many colours.
there are, like the was it?
Peter, I'm sure Peter Molyneux will promise us colours we have never seen before.
There's the shrimp. I can't remember. Is it a shrimp? I might have seen this on QR. So there's this because we have we have the three kinds of light. We have red, blue, and yellow.
Okay. Yep.
So
are you sure it's not green?
No, because green is blue and yellow.
Yeah, but light is red, blue,
I don't
and green.
fucking know. All right, I'm not a biologist. I'm a twat. Let's just
fair enough.
Line. It's three cones, and it's the three kind of lights. I don't know what they are, but like this fucking shrimp thing has like 12 or 16, or something. So it can see like light that we don't even fucking understand and stuff. So if this thing,
it's going to be infrared and ultraviolet. We understand it. We just can't see it.
But there's like, and that thing's what, and this thing lives under the fucking sea, and it just feels like a waste to me. Like, if there was ever a superpower, I'd just have like more color. Yeah.
But
I'd just take his cones. That'd be cool.
The really interesting thing, though, if you have as many eyes as this shrimp or whatever it was, then if you can see into the infrared spectrum, humans actually emit light because through our heat we actually generate some light infrared radiance, which then means all humans suddenly would start glowing.
Oh my god, the army would suck me up so fast. Nighttime mission, okay.
Well, they do wear things to mask that when they...
Oh, it's the mantis
That's why
shrimp.
they put all the paint and everything. Is to stop heat from escaping.
Yes, it's the mantis shrimp. And yeah, you're right, we have green, blue and red cones.
Yay!
Another thing.
Green, blue, and yellow is colour rather than light.
RGB in it. RGB. Fuck.
Yeah.
I should have known that. So it has 16 colours. This was on the oatmeal. It was the oatmeal that did this. I sort of remembered it and had a look. And it was the oatmeal. So yeah, it has 16 of its cones and stuff. But also, it's absolutely... It's that one that flicks out its claws really fast and like superheats the water in front of it and causes like a small sonic boom to kill things.
Ah, that's cool.
It's cool, but like a lot of aquariums that keep it ends up smashing through the glass. It's a vicious, multicoloured seeing bastard of death, and there's quite a fun comic about it on the oatmeal if you have a look. Just search oatmeal mantis shrimp, and you'll either get a disgusting recipe or a cool webcomic.
There we go.
Yes, so that's what I have to say about.
Okay, so yes. I have a board game on Kickstarter, and I know you've been picking up Kickstarter.
Are we done with video games? We're going to.
I am, yeah.
I'm trying. I thought I had something to say about a video game somewhere. Oh, I do.
You do. Yes.
Zelda. Well, I have another one first. Dragon Ball Z's Xenoverse.
Okay.
This is the new Dragon Ball Z game that came out on Steam. It has 3 fights you have to do at the start of the game, and then you get the tutorial. Do you know how fucking annoying that is?
Oh, that is so stupid.
because I think you're almost immortal for the fights, but it's the three most epic showdowns between Goku and like the three major enemies of the series, and that you're supposed to feel awesome, and my Goku's sort of like behind a tree going, I don't fucking know what's happening. I've lost who I'm supposed to be fighting. Firing Kamehamehas into my own fucking face. It's gameplay's kind of fun. I'm gonna need to give it a bit more time. I haven't actually had a go at it really properly yet. I made a character, and you design your own character. For the first time ever, they're deviating away from the standard saga plot. Like, they're 15 games in, these guys, and now they're finally telling a new story. And do you know what this new story is? You're a time traveler because someone's going in and fucking with the saga plot, and you have to restore it to order. No! It's far more interesting not being in order. I'm going to mess this shit up. But it gives you a choice of, like...
you are the villain of this piece,
I really feel like it, yeah. Like, it gives you a choice of the races you want to play as. So you've got, like, Saiyans and, like, the Buu and Piccolos, Namekians, Namekians, whatever they're called. And, like, so all these thing aliens. And then, like, in the middle it's like, humans! I'm like, fuck off! Like, the human example, like, it's got, like, the Saiyan example, so it's got all the Super Saiyans, so they're fucking giant hair and the power going around them, and their muscles and their thing. And you've got, like, the Buu, and they've got the muscles, the power, the Nameks, the muscles, the power, and then the humans, it's got, like, Yamcha going, hey-ya! No, why would I ever play as a human? Ever. In that, anything. If it's given a choice, I'm not going to play as a human. You're boring. I'm going to play as a Saiyan, because they look like humans, but they're cool.
There aren't enough Centaur games out there.
There are not enough Centaur games. That is true. That is true. I can't actually think of any games that have even featured Centaurs, apart from the inevitable shitty Harry Potter tie-ins. But for the one on Game Boy Advance, that's quite fun. So yeah, I haven't actually done that yet, but it really annoyed me that I had to do 3 fights and look like a knob before the game told me how to actually play the game.
I can see why.
Yeah, so...
For me, it's a bit like playing a game against you, where it's like, oh, here, play this game. How do I play it? Oh, you've died. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's what I do. Majora's Mask is what I want to talk about today.
Yeah,
for a little while. Because Majora's Mask is a game that is trying to make me hate it more than any other game I've ever played ever. So Majora's Mask is a game that takes place inside a nightmare.
Okay.
Because it has all the setup of a nightmare. There is, above the city, a giant moon with a terrifying face that's crashing into the earth. Pretty obviously, gradually getting towards it. And you play the final 3 days of this planet, and you play it on a loop, because you can reset time. Not a single person that I've spoken to in the entire game so far has mentioned the moon with the big face. They say the moon's coming, no one sort of pointed out it's the big face. And that's the sort of... That to me is a nightmare, because in a nightmare you're like, there's monsters coming, and everyone's like, stop being such a twat. Because dreams are fucking weird. So it plays sort of like how a nightmare feels, and everything about the game is creepy. From the fucking spiders that drop down the place, this guy who every time the camera changes angle is doing something else with a completely different animation, and he's the only one that does that. You put on different masks to get different abilities, and every time you put it on, you're treated to thankfully skippable, but still irritating that I have to skip it, cutscene of you putting on the mask and then screaming in agony for 10 minutes. Well, it's about 10 seconds, but you put on the mask and you're like, ah! And then the thing pulls a terrifying face, and then you're wearing it. But it's weirdly creepy. And, like, one of the masks... Actually, no, 2 of the masks. Oh my god, possibly all of them. The 2 that I can remember are not actually masked at all. They're the hollowed out faces of people that die around you.
Ah, yeah.
So, like, this guy dies and he gives you his mask. This guy dies and he gives you his mask. This sort of... I call them the Gongons, because I can't remember the fucking name. There might be that. It's something like that. I don't know. But he's the big hulky one. He's like dead, and you see his ghost by using a magic mirror. Blah blah blah. Usual Zelda bullshit. You go to his grave, and then he gives you his mask. But this other one, this is this guy who just washes up on the beach and dies, and then you just take his face, and you wear his face. And when you put this mask on, you like turn into these people as well. So it's like the most strangely, bizarrely, freaky, creepy game. But, like, it's still a Zelda game. It's weirding me out that, like, I'm playing this going, this is obviously the most terrifying thing in the world. This is a horror game. Why am I playing this? But every other part of it is quite clearly not a horror game. And it's freaking me out so much. That's the positive things I have to say about it. The things that I don't like about it is everything else. Like, all of it. It's, like, the economy is completely... like. Okay, so whenever you reset time, because you have to blow your ocarina, and you work out the time thing, and you go back in time, and you go back to the start of the first day, and see you tick through stage. You can do it at any point you want. I hate that so much. I wish you died and it would reset. That would be a thing. If you died and reset, that would be so much more fun. So when you reset time, what actually changes in the world seems to be completely arbitrary to what stays. So your main items stick around, but you sort of lose other items. So you'll lose bombs, but you'll keep your bomb bag. Right. But then you get weird stuff, like you win this race and you get given like powdered gold, and I didn't know what I had to do with the powdered gold. And then it just went away. But it is a key item that you can only use in one place, as far as I can tell so far. But that went away, and I had to redo that race again. If you don't finish the temples, you have to redo them from the beginning. Do you know how fucking annoying it is to play a temple from the fucking beginning? And there's only 4 instead of the usual 8. I'm quite glad of that. Cause
I do know how annoying it is, because I did the Wind Waker Sands of Time, where the Phantom Hourglass, that was it. Where you had to keep redoing the whole... Well, it was the Wind Waker sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as every time you went down, you had to redo all the levels you'd already done.
Yeah.
That was... You are correct. It is very frustrating and not very fun.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Like, it loses me. It loses me because I don't know what's going to stick around when I pick it up. Like, so if I'm doing a mission and I'm picking up these, like, one of the missions I had to pick up these eggs and take these eggs to this aquarium, like, and the eggs were scattered to the 4 fucking corners of the world, and I finally finished this, like, mini dungeon to get most of them, and then there were more elsewhere, and I was like, I'm really running out of time. Do I want to push myself to the limit and try and get these other ones and probably die a million times doing so? Or do I want to just go back now? But I don't know if I'm going to lose these, because they're in the bottles, and the bottles don't... It's very confusing. I'm really struggling with it. Especially that the dungeons reset, because you do the dungeon, complete the dungeon, kill the thing at the end, get the mask, tickety-boo. The mask that you can't wear, it's like, I don't know why you've got these masks. You might need them at the final boss or something. So everything's great, everything's tickety-boo. And then you reset. You don't... Because you have to collect these, like, fairies that are in the dungeon as well to get, like, extra abilities. And I missed one in the second dungeon. And then I reset time and went, I missed one, I'll go back. And then when I went back, I realised that I had to do the whole dungeon again. The whole thing. From the beginning. And so I didn't fucking bother. And that's the thing. It's not like me going... Because if everything went away... Like, I like the everything goes away, but you could change little bits of the world, I think would be better. So you're gradually building up a speed run. Yeah.
That's kind of one of the games that we were once working on.
Yeah. That's we sort of had that idea for a while, because this is like the first time I played this. So you gradually build up a speed run. So instead of having to... Because you're gently changing the world. I think it makes more sense to change the world than what you're holding, because you're just going back in time. But you keep all the masks and stuff. But instead you find like a secret tunnel. So eventually you have this like path you can just take. So you only take like the max like 3 minutes at the start of your thing, just getting back to where you were. And then you hit a wall, and then you're like, right, how do I get past this wall, whatever this is, a dungeon thingy thing, and then you carry on. Would it be more fun than what is essentially I don't know what's going to stay. But like every time you defeat a dungeon, because the dungeons are all doing their evil, bad things, it fixes stuff up. So I fixed this one up and all the toxic water went away. I fixed this other one, all the evil snow that was killing off the gongons or whatever they're called, went away. And now I've gone back in time. They're all back in their perilous things. So if I want to see if there was anything left to do, I have to go back into the dungeon and kill the boss again. Like, you can teleport straight to the boss. That changes. So you go in the dungeon, everything is still... You don't know where the fuck anything is, you have to do everything again, pull all the switches, but you can teleport to the boss and fight the boss.
Okay.
So you see, it's this weird thing of I don't know what's going to change, I don't know what is changing. It's very, very confusing. Also, the lock-on system is bullshit. It was bullshit in the Ocarina of Time that I couldn't even fucking bother to finish, and it's bullshit in this. If it wasn't for the nightmare feel of this, I wouldn't be playing it anymore. I do want to try and see this game out to conclusion. But, like, so there was a boss that I just fought that was sort of a mini-boss. It was this big eye. I quite like the way you had to activate it. It's sort of hanging above the level, and you have to look up, and then there's a big eye staring at you, and then it drops. I like that as an opening. It's playing into the complete horror that this game is. So it's this big eye that rolls around. It has these things on it, and you slice them off, sort of like you did in Sonic 2 with Robotnik when he had those orbs that floated around him. You had to knock them off and then pop them. It's exactly the same fucking thing. But this guy opens and closes his eye. When he opens his eye, you can lock onto the eye. When he closes it, you can't lock onto him. Now, you really have no camera control apart from lock on, or when you tap the button, you're facing in that direction. So when you slice all things off and he's charging around, you're locking onto him to aim your arrow, and then he closes his eye and you're not locking onto him anymore. But you're still holding down the aim button. So now you've just changed from I'm locking on to I'm now in first person holding an arrow and can't move. And because you were moving left or right to strafe, you're now just moving your arrow off of the target, and he's rolling around in completely random directions and you can't pay attention to him. It's so awful! It took me 3 days to take this boss down because I kept throwing the fucking thing away in frustration. Why? Who designed this? This is a remake! Remakes should be flawless! Seriously, if this was this bad in the first one, how does anyone ever like this game?
Well, that's why Tim Schafer, when remaking Grim Fandango, changed the control scheme.
Yes. He gave the option. He still likes the tank controls, but because he's used to them. But he went, most other people just want a normal style control, so I'll add that. Yeah. And this, it may be better with the new 3DS, with its little tiny analog clitoris at the top right, that may or may not, I don't even know, I never try that thing, I don't particularly want to. But I don't want to spend £150 just to be able to defeat a boss. That's free-to-play Nintendo games in the year 2020, that is.
I want to check. Is that you've never had a clitoris, or you've never had a go on a 3DS?
Both. The new 3DS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe if I could actually move the camera around, it would be less frustrating. It's like the Order. Sorry, jumping over it. The Order. I'm not playing the Order. My dad's playing the Order, and he's playing it through because it's his sort of thing. He likes the sort of more cinematic things. But it's got black bars at the top and the bottom, and as well as that, they've got that sort of darkened border that loads of things do, and I really fucking hate. I fucking hate a dark. A slightly darkened, slightly rounded border.
Yeah.
That you get around something just to make it look slightly more like it's a fucking skateboarding video. You get that slightly dark bit around the edge. They have that as well. So everything is tunnel vision. It's so... you're out in the middle of fucking London, and it's you've got the sky, you've got all the fucking river and shit, and it feels like you're in a really claustrophobic tunnel. And they're like, oh, it's all cinematic. It's killing. It's killing my experience. Watching this game being played, I'm like, that just looks horrible. That doesn't feel like that's fun to play at all. And then my dad's going, yeah, it's claustrophobic as shit. Throughout the entire thing. It's such a weird little one. Yeah.
I think Ratchet and Clank also struggled from it when they did the PSP versions, because they didn't have the second analog stick. You had to use the trigger buttons as cameras, but also I think if you double hit the trigger buttons, they did something else.
Yes.
So you ended up moving your camera at the same time you were trying to do moves or the opposite.
Vice City did this. Vice City Stories did this as well on the PSP. But they fixed it with the Vita, because on the Vita, you can assign the analog stick to any... there's a set combinations of things, so you can have it as the D-pad, or you press this and this, and so you can actually get around it in some things.
Ah, well...
So if the D-pad is in Metal Gear Solid set to the face buttons, you now have an analog stick that moves the camera.
Fantastic.
That was a very clever thing that the Vita did, and I was very, very pleased with that.
Look, we all know the Vita did clever things, and no one cares.
That is true. The Vita is like the console. I'm like, hey, that's fantastic. When that has some games, I'll play it.
Yeah.
But that's not to be. It seems I'm trying to struggle through a fucking Nintendo piece of shit. I'm actually struggling through it. I know I rag on Nintendo games a lot, but this game came to me as a classic deserving of remaster, and everyone throws absolute love at this game, and I've just worked out it's because you were all stupid children. That's the solution.
That's it. Everyone was a kid.
That's what it is. But I will point out, I absolutely fucking adore Phoenix Wright, and I'm playing a lot of Phoenix Wright at the moment. And
I love Phoenix Wright.
Fantastic. Flawed massively, but fantastic.
Yeah. I want to give a particular shout out to the Ace Detective line of Phoenix Wright, because that's very good. There's a female kind of Phoenix Wright on Kickstarter at the moment. Can't remember the name for the life of me, but if you like that sort of game, go have a look. And they've put the whole first chapter up as a demo to play now, which is how you should do a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
did you see, this is a slight diversion.
Go for it.
I want to point this out. Did you see they've made MacGyver a woman? The new MacGyver is apparently casting a woman as MacGyver.
I didn't. I don't care because I never watched MacGyver as a guy, so...
MacGyver. I watch it a fair bit. It's very stupid.
Is it now MacGyver?
MacGyver. And every single thing she does, she just uses her tits. That's what's going to happen, inevitably. But no, there's this trend.
It makes sense because she does have hairpins automatically on her.
Tits. Yeah. Automatically hairpins and breasts. You can get out of any situation with hairpins and breasts. True story.
It's a fact.
But they've got that. If they've got that as that's one of the remakes with a woman. They're rebooting Ghostbusters with a woman squad.
I heard that. I think
that annoys me that they're rebooting
work.
it. They shouldn't reboot it. They should have franchised it out. Like, how much more fun would it be if it was just another branch of Ghostbusters and they all had to? I mean, because then you could get cameos of the old guys that made sense in canon. I'd like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're sort of doing a lot of stuff recently where they're taking out roles that were male and replacing it with a woman. Fucking doesn't give a shit which woman. That's the bit that annoys me. It's now. This is what Stephen Moffat said as well. It's never this particular woman. It's always a woman. They just want a woman and stuff. But I do like the fact that we are sort of. The world seems to have gone, hey, wouldn't it be interesting with more female characters?
It would, and it's a very good thing.
Yes, I think there's some interesting stuff. I mean, I'm about to play through Dragon Ball Z as a female character who's going to doom the human race because I can. I hope I can. That would be hilarious. Yeah, because you can play as a... Bizarrely, in the screen when it shows off the male and females, the males are literally twice as big as the females. The males start with a maximum height, like a height bar set to maximum, and the females start with a height bar set to half.
Okay.
I find that very weird. That's a very weird little thing. I was like, okay, but I'm going to put that back up to big, so when I'm kicking the shit out of someone, it looks like I'm kicking... I don't know.
I'd have gone small. It's less of a target.
Well, I'm building a giant Amazoness sort of fucking unstoppable... Someone that, the sort of guys that kidnapped Fry.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, there. I'm going for the proper full-on Amazoness, but Saiyan. That's my plan for this. The world is saved by an Amazon. I think that would be fun.
I'd have gone for a smaller one on the hope that perhaps it lowers my hitboxes. Shrinks my hitboxes.
Oh, you know what the ultimate advantage of being an Amazon is? Don't have to pay tax. That is a stupid joke. Oh, alright. That's gaming news.
Okay, so now moving on to a talk about a franchise with almost no women, Thunderbirds.
Oh, yes.
So,
I saw yes.
There is a Thunderbirds board game on Kickstarter. For those of you who don't know, Thunderbirds was an amazing puppet TV show, which is now being remade as some CGI thing. But this is to do with the puppet TV show, not the new CGI thing. So ignore the fact that someone's trying to ruin
it's just so off. It's just so off. Like, because if you have something like Thomas the Tank Engine, which when it was little train models looked amazing.
The island of Sodor is just beautiful.
Yeah, and now it's this CGI horseshit. It's like whenever people watch Jurassic Park and they go, oh, why is the CGI so good now? Oh, here's the secret. It's not fucking CGI. And also everything was shot in the rain at night. But it's mostly, it's mostly not CGI. The big, terrifying monster thing, they actually just went and built that. That's what we used to fucking do. That's why Godzilla is a man in a suit, or has been for quite some time.
But my point was, Thunderbirds it's a show about international rescue, which makes sense then for it to... So it's a cooperative board game. It's from the designer of Pandemic, which is probably the most successful cooperative board game. I have not played it, so I cannot comment. But I know it's sort of... It hits a lot of people's favourite games. So it's got a guy who knows how to make a cooperative board game. And Thunderbirds just makes sense as a cooperative board game so well. The whole thing is you have special... pegs which are sculpted to look like the different Thunderbirds and have ink the colour plastic of whatever that Thunderbird should be. And then you have all of the vehicles, and then you have to keep moving your characters around and then moving them to the right place so they can try and save the day. And you have kind of this doom tracker where catastrophes happen and you have to go around and save them. And then there's a second doom tracker, which is the Hood, where he's got his master plans and he puts things in. It's a quite simple game, so it's a game that you could easily play with a family, but it's cooperative, which means that you don't have to sort of go, oh, come and play this game, I'm totally going to own you. Like, you're playing against the game, so everyone's all on the same team. So it's a really nice, friendly game. It's doing very well. So if that's something that interests you, I thought that would be worth mentioning. For the record, I've already bought it for Dan, so as a Christmas present or birthday present.
Spoilers!
When it comes out.
You bastard!
Spoiling it. Like they have a plastic model of Thunderbird 2, and you can remove the green the pod. And the pod doesn't actually hold anything, but you then have sort of a bay in the middle, so you can then place Thunderbird 4 or a collection of the things like the mole and some of the other pod machines inside it. So then you can actually fly around and drop them off. And there's a very small Tracy Island and Parker and Lady Penelope, and she's got FAB1 and a boat for FAB1 to go around on, and all of the Thunderbirds themselves, 1 to 5, and it's if you and all of the catastrophes are all themed on episodes and have photographs of the episodes from where the proper models and explosions and everything.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of Thunderbirds, this is worth looking out for. If you like cooperative games, this is probably going to be one of the best cooperative games out there. If you want to wait until it comes out and not back the Kickstarter, it's made its funding point, so you don't have to. Go for it like that. If you want to play it safe, as we said, things can go wrong. So
and do.
They do.
And do.
And that's my board game news.
Hooray! Oh, we have more board game news. Technically, there's another thing you can add to that. Exploding Kittens did quite well.
Yeah, it did.
Have you seen the mad scramble from absolutely every news outlet to try and explain why it did so well?
Because it had cats.
No.
And explosions.
Sort of. It's because it's the oatmeal, which I've already discussed today as telling me about the mantis shrimp. The oatmeal is a wonderful webcomic, and they went, hey, we've done a thing. And everyone went, okay. Because of the oatmeal, they opened, I think it was finished, I think they actually managed to fund this. They funded a Tesla museum.
Excellent.
Because they really like Tesla, so they did a Tesla museum. That's just they're great. Everyone loves them to bits, and they're fantastic. Anyway, let's add that. What's next on the list of things we have to talk about?
Weird TV shows. The cucumber, tofu, and banana I wanted to talk about.
Is that one show or 3?
It is. Well, that is exactly what I want to talk about. So Russell T Davies.
Yes, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Didn't he do that show about the Inspector Spacetime? That one?
No, Queer as Folk.
Ah, okay.
But yes, he has decided to come up with a trilogy of shows which air on Channel 4, E4, and whatever their online thing is.
4.
And
404! Yes!
Okay. And each of those is called named after an erection.
Uh-huh.
So cucumber is the strongest form of erection, banana is a softer erection, and tofu is a crap erection.
And also terrible food.
But
I'd also say that cucumbers are awful. And bananas, not a big fan of banana texture.
So
basically, I don't like food that tastes like you could describe a penis with it.
Exactly. So there we go. They're basically all around gays.
Uh-huh.
There's no way of going around it. It's like, everyone is homosexual in it. And
hang on. You're telling me
Russell T Davies.
Russell T Davies, straightest writer we know.
Straightest writer ever.
Who has never written a gay character. Is writing now gay characters. That is breathtaking. That's like, imagine Stephen Moffat writing a TV show that's a little bit complicated. That's sort of what it is. Or, Dan Harmon writing a show that's funny. I like Dan Harmon.
Oh, that starts next week, doesn't it? Oh, sorry, next month, doesn't it? Community.
I completely blanked on that until now.
Community is starting next month. Anyway, back to what we're
actually,
saying.
no. One tiny bit of movie news, that the guy who directed some episodes of Community is the guy directing the Lego Movie 2.
Oh.
Boom.
I thought it was going to be the same guys as last time.
They're writing it, I believe, but the directing is being handed off to a TV director, which is fine because he's the one who did the Meow Meow Beans episodes, which I absolutely love.
Oh, well. We've got more movie news later on, but yes. Russell T Davies created these 3 shows, and he wanted to make them kind of interconnected and yet at the same time separate shows, and I just wanted to talk... I didn't want to focus about the content or make this a review of them, because, I mean, he's trying to make basically a gay Skins and a gay Cold Feet.
Right. That took me a little bit while to work out. You said gay Skins. Like, you put them on and you feel like what it is.
A version of Skins which is exclusively gay.
Skins being that really, really, really fucked up. Teenagers are like this, and then essentially just did a show about people who take drugs.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So he basically did both of those with a homosexual bias for both male and females who like themselves, or bisexuals. I think there might have been some bisexual. I don't know. There are people in there.
Yes.
And that's kind of the focus. And he's done the job of being those sorts of things and being sort of that. But I wouldn't list either Cold Feet or Skins particularly high on my greatest TV of all time. Like, they're both sort of okay shows, and he has created 2 okay shows. Like, in my opinion, like I don't want to talk about that. Which obviously means I failed because I just did. Because
I've not seen either of them apart from bits of Skins, which I couldn't sit through more than... It's like EastEnders on speed. That's Skins.
So...
You love your teeny dramas, I know you.
I do, but Skins is not really one of them. I liked it because it was written by a lot of comedians.
No,
it was one of those ones
where...
It's
a teeny drama on meth. We've been through... I'm just going to keep naming different drugs for every time.
It was good when it was trying to be funny, and when it was trying to be drama, it was awful. And it spent too much time trying to be a drama.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the point. Yes, he's... I wanted to talk about this because he's got a show which is supposed to be the adult characters, which follows the same characters over and over again. And then he's tried to do sort of... the banana is supposed to be young characters, but it focuses on completely different characters each week. Uh-huh. But then some of them are also main characters in Cucumber. And then Tofu is basically trying to make Becoming YouTube, but about sex and homosexuality.
Uh-huh.
And is by Ben Cook. Uh-huh. I have to be honest, I love Becoming YouTube, and I do not like Tofu. I didn't get past the first episode, which mostly seemed to be 15 minutes about one guy who is an actor in the series saying, I like to sleep with prostitutes. That's where the best sex is. And me going, okay. You know, it felt like, because when you interview YouTubers about YouTube, they know what they're talking about. Or they know more about YouTube than anyone else does, even if that's not very much. Whereas saying, hey, you appeared in a show about homosexuality and sex and stuff, tell me what you know. It's like, no. Like,
it's like going to
it's
Ian
not
McKellen.
like they're
How
sex
much
specialists.
Magic do you know?
Yes, exactly. Do you know? Yeah, it would be that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah. It's like getting Patrick Stewart and going, this control panel's exploded, we're all going to die, quick, stop the engines going off.
Yeah, or asking him to read your mind or something. Exactly.
Well, yeah, that would be asking Leonard Nimoy to read your mind.
No. Well, I suppose with the mind meld. I was going with Professor X, you see.
Okay. I forget that Marvel exists outside of movies.
Okay.
I haven't seen X-Men for a while.
That's fine. Okay, so, yeah. But he tried to link these two things, but I didn't feel like they were either connected or separate enough to work.
Uh-huh.
Like, I kind of gave up with both of them after about 3 episodes, and it was one of those ones where I like the idea of telling stories.
Show that doesn't link to the main one properly. That's never happened before.
You're right.
Torchwood!
There's no way. You know what? I had not put that
together. Again! Adventures!
You know, I should have expected this. So, in which case, you have now solved my discussion. You are correct. It is exactly like that, only he hasn't done it very well. Only this time he'd put them sort of like they air straight after each other.
Yeah.
So you'd have thought they'd have put it together better, but yeah. Anyway, that was a TV rant.
That's all that's happening with TV.
Films. I still saw a lot of films.
Movies.
I can't remember if I talked about this in my last podcast because it's been so long since the last one. So I want to mention I saw Into the Woods. It's a musical. I didn't like it. It just felt like it was the same song over and over again. I think there might have been 3 songs in it. And obviously they kept changing the words, but the tune just felt so repetitive. And it's supposed to be this sort of... I can sort of see why it... I know why it looked clever in the trailers and why I didn't enjoy it when I actually saw it, which was the idea is kind of all of these old nursery rhymes crossing over. And they were trying to make them dark, sort of... Sorry, not nursery rhymes, fairy tales. And they were trying to sort of do this and go, oh, look, we're going to make them all dark. And firstly, I'm there going, what are you talking about? The source material is dark in the first place. You can't out-dark some of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Red Riding Hood. It's already... I mean, in the original text, she actually eats her grandmother. In the translation text that everyone knows, it's like she's... all of these characters get eaten by a wolf and cut open. Like, it doesn't... It's already pretty dark.
Yeah.
Like, just putting Johnny Depp in does not make it darker. So, yeah. And it didn't all tie together very nicely. Like, they tried to say, oh, look, people have learnt lessons, but no one had. Like, nowhere at any point where you're like, no, the whole point of fairy tales is they're supposed to learn lessons. Yeah. And, yeah, the only thing that I found interesting about it was that it starred... wow, I've forgotten his name. My
Keith Sutherland.
Yes, sure, why not?
I was about to say, really? He was on Top Gear the other day. It was just the first thing that came in my head.
I like Keith Sutherland, but he's not the person I was talking about. I want Chris Pine. I had Chris Pratt stuck in my head, which is why. But he was from the Lego movies, and that he wasn't in this movie. I want Chris Pine.
Chris Pine?
So Chris Pine plays Captain Kirk in the new Star Trek movies.
Oh, with the new one, right? For a second,
crap
I thought
ones.
You went completely mental.
No, but in this movie, in Into the Woods, he does an amazing job of acting just like William Shatner in a way that he has never done in the last 2 Star Trek movies.
Okay.
So it's quite interesting because every time he did, he had that kind of old Shatner kind of talk that no one can do apart from William Shatner. But everyone thinks they can.
Hedgehog. Yeah.
But yes,
everyone thinks they can be William Shatner. It's true story.
Exactly. But he did that so beautifully here that it made me believe that maybe he wasn't the awful choice to play Kirk, and that actually J.J. Abrams just can't direct him. Yeah. That was the only thing of notice particularly about that. And then I had 3 other films I saw, all of which I actually have more detailed reviews about.
Ooh, go for it.
I'll start off with the biggest letdown.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I went to see Jupiter Ascending.
Uh-huh. That's the new Wachowski film.
It's the new Wachowskis, yeah. I had really high hopes because it was a film based on nothing. Like that's for me is the beauty of a good, because we all know that once you tie into a franchise, normally it goes wrong. Like when you say I'm going to make a computer game based on a film, you go no, because it shouldn't. Like the film was made for 1.5 hours, stretching it into a 20-hour gameplay just makes it really crap. Like we know this to be true. And most films are based on books or comics. So for me, I was really excited to see a film made just to be a film which had a budget. That almost never happens. So I really wanted this to be good, and it was supposed to be a sci-fi action movie, and the Wachowskis are really good at action and crap at plot. But, you know, I was expecting really great action. And they achieved none of that. Like, amazingly, it was a film that felt like it had been adapted from a book. It had that bad pacing where you were there going, I really feel like you've rushed this in because you had to get through this content because someone said that you had to. And you keep introducing characters who go nowhere, and it feels like you've only introduced them because they were a big character in the book, but you didn't have enough time to do them justice. Like, everything about it said... Like, it felt like a really big, huge world... And that was really good. I enjoyed that. But at the same time, it felt like a really big world where they kept rushing through pieces without really getting anywhere. The plot was boring, predictable, which was fine, but it was boring and predictable. And the action, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the Wachowski standard. It was the worst Wachowski's action movie ever. Like, all of the action, you're there going... It's pretty, but, like, there was no bullet time. Like, they once tease you with bullet time, and that's when, sort of, they free something, and it's because someone's watching a playback of it. But other than that, there's no... Like, even Speed Racer has amazing action and special effects and
bullet
stuff.
Time.
And bullet time. And yet, with this, you're just there going... Yeah. And so it's completely crashed and failed. And it's not a bad movie. It's just really not got any of the good stuff. And has a lot of flaws it shouldn't have had. Because, it, like I said, it feels like it was a bad adaptation of a book. Only it wasn't an adaptation of a book. So it has no excuse for that. And it's one of those... And, like, if this was to win an award... at the end of the at the end of the year, and I'm not sure it will win an award for us, but if we were to give it an award, I would give it Best Postcard Movie. Like, if you wanted to make postcards off of a movie, this, because it goes to lots of new different planets, and it does it in beautiful CGI and does a really great job, like, you could get really good sort of postcards that you would send to people. And every time it looked into a world, I went, oh, that looks really nice looking into your world. But then when it went off and did an action scene, it was like, you should get the Wachowskis back in here to to do this action. Or when they did, so that was a huge letdown for me. So I'm kind of like, if it ever ends up on Netflix, it's worth watching, but also be happy to watch it while fast forwarding through bits.
Yeah. Like pornography!
Yeah. It wasn't even that funny as well, because I think action-adventures should be funny.
Yeah.
And they just had virtually no comedy through it. There was like one or two jokes.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that was a big disappointment. Then I watched Big Hero 6. Big Hero 6 finally came out in the UK.
I still haven't seen it. It's on my list.
Have you not?
No spoilers.
Well, it's pretty good. It kind of does exactly what I was expecting it to. Nothing more and nothing less. So it wasn't quite as good as The Incredibles, but it felt like that kind of... As a childish superhero movie that's a bit fun and a bit cheesy, it does the job fine. Like, I can't criticize it. I just kind of wished it had been a bit more, whereas Incredibles and... even things like Wreck-It Ralph all have that little extra oomph to them that this didn't quite have. But this is still a solid movie. Like, I like to rank movies out of 10 and then give movies I absolutely love an 11. And this is a 10. Like, it's perfect. I can't say, well, you didn't do that very well.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the little something extra. So it's well worth seeing. It's just not... Yeah, it just didn't quite have that little extra something that I felt like, other movies had had. So, it's a boring review, but, you know, accurate.
But accurate, yeah. Boring but accurate.
It did exactly what I expected it to. So if you're expecting, don't expect it to be your next favourite movie. But equally, if you need to be cheered up, it's a perfectly reasonable film to go and see, and there's some good stuff in there. It has much better action than Jupiter Ascending. So it felt good. Cool. And then finally I saw... Okay, now this has a good chance of being my film of the year, and if this is my film of the year, I'd be happy with it. And I wasn't expecting it to be this good. The Kingsman.
What's that about?
It is... Okay, here's the reason I wasn't expecting much from it. It's from the same director who did things like Kick-Ass. So I was expecting an overly gory, slightly comedic movie. And it is an overly gory, comedic movie. However, it gets it right in that it never tries to glorify the gore. It kind of uses it more as a punchline. And it's overly sweary, but it's overly sweary and works. And it feels like what adult James Bond should be, as opposed to Daniel Craig, which is a bad version of an adult James Bond, which is, let's do a James Bond movie, but take out all of the gadgets and just make it boring spy stuff. This is the opposite. This is the arch villain in The Kingsman is a paraplegic who doesn't have any legs and instead has those sort of running legs with the springs in them, the sort of curved ones. But then those also have retractable spikes. So when she jumps, she does backflips and cuts people up with the sharp pointy bits. Like, it's stupid and yet wonderful. And the whole thing is filled with great British actors and great American actors playing these sort of over-the-top, caricature-y, silly things. There are a few moments that I absolutely love, which I will talk about when we do our end-of-the-year review, but I will not talk about now because I don't want to spoil it. But, there's some stuff in it that's absolutely amazing. At times, it's almost like... There are bits that could have come out of Austin Powers. They're so over-the-top, stupid funny and unrealistic. And then there are times where you're going... That could easily be sort of... In a Quentin Tarantino movie, there's so much blood and gore on the screen. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's quite got the heart of, say, Iron Man 3, where that was one where you really felt like you connected to the hero. And so it's supposed to be a secret service of posh people, and then Colin Firth tries to get this this council estate kid onto the team, and it's kind of a sort of they're weaning their way through into the finalists, and then trying to save the day at the same time, with the villain being played by Samuel L. Jackson, who plays a complete nerd. And yeah. But, like, everything about it is so pushing everything to an extreme of everyone's either the most extreme British suit wearer possible, sort of borderline butler type, sort of drinking scotch and what have you. Yeah. And Samuel L. Jackson plays the geekiest person ever.
In the world.
Well, just in that he has a lisp, and he always wears sort of baseball caps, and just looks like he can't dress himself, and just like the whole... But everything's extreme, but it's extreme in a good way. And it's... Yeah, the action is good at being action, even better when it's trying to be funny, which most of the time it is. It's just... I was so prepared for that to underachieve. I was expecting it to sort of be the point where it was just swearing and putting blood in it to compensate for the fact that it was lacking in other places, which I sometimes felt Kick-Ass was. We could have a joke, or we could just have a very young girl swearing a lot. Let's have the young girl swear a lot. Yay! Whereas this wasn't. This was funny and worked right, and this is definitely one of the funniest sort of comedy movies I've seen, but doesn't have to be seen as a comedy movie. Like, you can quite easily say this is an action adventure, because, as said before, action adventures should be funny. So, yeah, that was a really good movie, and, so I thoroughly recommend Kingsman.
Ooh. A thorough recommendation there.
A thorough recommendation.
Did you go see Birdman as well?
Yeah, but I thought I discussed that in the last one.
I don't remember. Didn't that win a million Oscars or something?
Oh, probably. Well, you wanted to talk about the why Lego Movie didn't get Oscar nominated or something.
Did I?
You said that the Oscars wouldn't nominate Lego because it was too much of an advert.
Yeah, it was too much of a tie. They didn't think it was enough of a movie. They thought it was just a giant advert.
To which I say, I don't think that the Oscars is an award show. It's more of an advert for art films.
Yes.
And therefore cannot be considered an actual award show by itself, and therefore does not count as an award.
Yes, which is why you don't count it.
Also, Birdman is a giant advert for the theatre and the Times newspaper, where it's all spending all of its time going, oh, the Times newspaper person, they'll make or break you. Oh, only thing that matters is the Times newspaper coming to review your theatre show. Oh, yeah, that was way more of an advert than Lego. In fact, if anything, Lego, whose evil villain is Lord Business, who feels that everyone should follow the instructions. It was almost an anti-advert for Lego. Yeah. Like, I mean, yes, it made me want to go out and buy more Lego, but it did it by saying, hey, look, this is what's good about Lego, and this is what's bad about Lego. And the bit that they were picking at is the bit that set the marketing part of Lego that normally gets cut out. Like, if this was just an advert, everything that made that movie wonderful would have been removed.
Yep.
And the live action parts, that gave me more heart and soul than anything else I have seen in a long time.
Well, one of the other things, they said there was too much live action. Like, apparently they changed it. Like,
what?
This is all speculation. Like, if I remember rightly, you had to have at least 75% animation, and they said that they may have changed the rules. Who knows? I don't know, but to be honest, the Oscars are a pile of tramps' arse anyway, so who gets a toss?
I have to say, it's a bit weird that both of my favourite animated movies have live action in them. Because Wall-E and Lego Movie are probably my favourite action movie. My favourite animated movies. And both of them have small amounts of live action.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And equally, I do not like the live action in Wall-E. It should have been CGI.
But then famous actors wouldn't be famous.
Well, they didn't even go particularly... That's such a small part of Wall-E. They could have done without it.
Yeah. But everything is awesome.
Everything's good.
Didn't win an Oscar.
Let's not go any further.
Let's not think about the Oscars, because...
Yeah. I haven't even looked at them since they nominated, just to get annoyed at... Yeah.
I don't give a shit. They were on during the wrestling. The wrestling was awful, but I still wouldn't switch over to watch the Oscars. That's how bad they were. If you want to hear me talk about wrestling, I have another podcast over on the Stephen Larson channel. Shit, I'm going to pimp my stuff, bitch.
Damn right.
That's what I do. I'm a pimper. I've been spinning on my chair. I realised this is going to be a really fun sound edit for you.
Oh, well.
I'm just going to... See, because you're in my voice mic, which is on my helmet, but everybody listening to this is on the mic that's over there on the other side of the room right now.
So, how are we doing for time?
Kind of about an hour and a half.
Well, do you want to call it an end, or do you want to actually attempt to talk about perspective in storytelling in games?
We could do a little bit of that. Do you want to get some Q&As in? We missed it last time, I think.
We've missed it a few times because we kept overrunning.
Yeah, well, there's no overrunning on the internet.
Okay, you ask for some questions, and I will briefly talk about perspective in computer games. Okay. This is what's boring, / interesting bit.
You sang that boring.
Yeah, that's because it's me. So, the thing that I wanted to talk about is there are 3 types of perspective in storytelling. There's first person, which is from the view of the main character. There is third person, which is from the view of a narrator who kind of sees everything. and there is second person, which most people don't know about, which is when it's told through the eyes of a character who is not the lead character. The best way to explain this is kind of... the best example is Sherlock Holmes, where all of the books are written as kind of diary entries or article entries by John Watson. Yeah. And it's clearly about Sherlock Holmes, and we see it through John Watson's eyes, and it gives us a new view. I was thinking about computer games and was trying to work out if you could have a second-person view on a computer game. Because I thought, clearly, if you're playing as a character... they become the main character. Could you play as not the main character? And then I realised that you could. Because if you think of games like XCOM, I clearly exist as the commander of the XCOM base. But it's the characters who go out into the field who I would consider to be the XCOM squads, the important people. So I would consider them to be the lead characters, and me to be the mere side character. Like, if we were talking about Stargate, no one would say the lead character is...
the Stargate!
Is the Stargate, or the guy, the general, General Hammond. You know, you say it's the SG-1 who go off and do all of their missions. So... yes. But... you're not technically in control of them, because if they get scared or something, they stop listening to you. So they actually are independent, but you help them out. So it got me thinking about the fact that there is in fact a second-person view in computer games that we don't... which is possibly means that it's the best version of second-person view in storytelling. And I thought that was quite interesting, because... oh, it's boring. That is the nature of this section.
Boring, etc. Actually, I have an answer.
Go for it.
Because I've played a game, I believe I may have played it in a free game Friday, called Second Person Shooter.
Okay.
It was a shooter, but your camera view was always through the eyes of the enemy.
Ah.
So you saw you through the eyes of the enemy that you had to kill. I believe you stood in the middle and span around and stuff.
That sounds interesting.
I think it was called something else. Second person shooter something, but I'm not sure. If you Google second person shooter, you'll probably find it.
Oh, there we go. I'm sure there's a whole world of second person games out there. It's just something that I think first person storytelling works best most of the time. Not first person camera, first person storytelling. By which I mean you play as the character and you only know what the character knows, and you don't get stuff through cutscenes and stuff, and you just sort of... if you're playing a character, you should know what your character knows, and you should know everything your character knows, which is the other thing that often screws me over. It's like, it's a first-person game, but you don't know stuff that your character should know, which then means you can't make decisions for your character properly.
This is what I'm currently struggling with, because I really, really want to not tell the player something in the game we're making. I don't know what it is, but there's something I desperately don't want the player to know until they're a little bit into the game.
In Project
Lint. It's something the player knows. Yeah, it's something the player knows. It's not the player knows, the character knows, but I don't want the player to know till later, because it's a little bit too much for the opening. And it's something that I want them to know a little later on.
So long as they don't need it.
That's the way I'm getting around it. That's the way I'm going to get around it.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to come up. It's not something that'll ever be... it's going to be... yeah.
Yeah, but it's not...
it won't be something you need. It's going to be something that when it comes up, you'll only need it, and you only need to know that information afterwards.
So long as it's not like Heavy Rain, where you suddenly go, oh, well, I was clearly playing one of those characters very wrong.
Yeah.
Apparently they were a total murderer.
Yeah, there's because they dodgily fudged the editing. The bits... this is something I didn't know. The bits where I can't remember his boring face lead character, where he blacked out and then woke up with the piece of origami that was a red herring and never explained, was actually cut. That was an entirely strange psychic powers bit that they cut from the game.
Yeah,
but they left that bit in, and you know what? That was probably worse, because it was just a massive red herring that ruined everything.
I agree.
You can't ruin everything in a game. It's like, oh no, you stepped on that piece of that poo. Now you've ruined it all. It's fine. Should we get some questions or something?
Yeah, go for questions then.
Probably get some questions. Yeah, play second person shoot. It's very good. We're doing it from the first person. But there is some stuff I just want to hold back just from the start, because there's some stuff that just you don't need to know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, okay, so I tried to watch the film Dune, and like it's a 10 minutes of just them telling you how the universe works. And I made it for about 7 minutes and then said, "Oh, fuck this!" Like, I don't know how you can survive through that, and that has now made me sort of uber paranoid as a creative at making sure you don't overload the beginning. Because part of me always does want to say, "Here's a textbook about how the universe works. Read that, and then come back to my game or my film or whatever it is, or my book."
Or what I'm going to do: slowly teach throughout the game what the universe is. When do you need to know? It's a need to know sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's the correct way of doing things.
It's like in a sitcom that's been going on for years, and like, hey, here's that thing we do every year, and for some reason the lead character doesn't know about it yet.
Yeah.
Which always bugs me. Eureka did this a lot. Hey, it's this holiday that you were obviously away for when we celebrated last, but you bring it up when it's necessary.
Yeah.
You don't, because then otherwise you're playing the pronoun game. Everybody loves the pronoun game of, he said this, and you don't know who they're talking about. Anyway, questions. Questions. What is the best way to contact you now that your Tumblr is gone? Quite clearly, Twitter. Duh. Oh god, it's lots of people asking me about that stupid fucking dress. It's all just what colour is it? God, you're so original, internet. What colour is the dress? It's literally in a row. There's like 20 people asking what colour is the dress, and all of you fuckers have spelled the word colour wrong. There's a U in it, people. There's a U in it.
Not if you're American. Or if you're dyslexic. If you're dyslexic, there's a Z in it. If you want.
There's a Z in everything. If you're dyslexic, you can believe that there's a Z in everything.
Also, why I do so fantastically at Scrabble.
Okay. Just
because I make up words and go, that's how you spell it.
You're like playing the cat from Red Dwarf. Okay, this is a good question. If you were trapped on a desert island and could only have one person and one lifetime supply of food, what would they be and why? You go first.
If I only have one person's supply of food...
One person and one lifetime supply of food. So you pick one person who will be with you and one food.
So this doesn't mean that there's only enough food for one of us and we have to have a showdown to the death.
Lifetime supply of food for the both of you, but you only have one person and this one food.
Okay. I would go with pizza.
Uh-huh.
Hang on. Do I have to be able to cook it? Or is this magical, I can have whatever I want?
The teddy bear Tyler doesn't state.
Okay.
We're going to say you can't cook it.
I can't cook it, so
no.
I need something else.
The oven's being taken up with the smoke signals trying to attract boats.
Damn it. I will have pigs, so I can have bacon and pork and stuff.
You're okay. Again, with the cooking.
I'll die of gout. If a desert island, I should be able to get a fire going.
You should really get... there might be some fruit and vegetables.
Like, I don't think you could make a very good pizza over an open fire, but I imagine I could burn some food enough that it doesn't kill me.
If you... Actually, I'm now thinking about how you would do that. If you cooked the ingredients first into a pan that you've clearly got as well... and then flipped it over onto like a big slab that you could cook slowly on, you then have the ingredients cooked nice and crispy, and then the bottom would cook well as well. Maybe that would work. I don't know. I'm not a desert island specialist.
No, I'm not really either.
And who is your person then? So you're going to bring some pigs along?
I don't know. It's like, do I choose someone who's useful or someone who keeps me entertained? I definitely think entertained, so I think I'd bring you along.
Oh, you bastard. Why? I'm already trapped on another desert island. Now I'm trapped on 2 desert islands.
Yeah.
You git. I thought you'd bring along someone like Gordon Ramsay, and he could cook food for you. You know?
I wouldn't eat anything he prepares.
Lenny Henry, he's a chef.
No, he's a comedian.
But he was in the show Chef. You know who I would bring along?
No.
Now this is genius. This is genius. Ready?
Yep.
I would bring along the food. 1 lifetime supply.
Bear Grylls.
No, get this, right? 1 lifetime supply of fucking anything. It doesn't matter, because my person would be MacGyver. I would get the fuck out of there. Boom, boom, boom. Solved. And on that note...
Out of interest, male or female MacGyver?
Oh, I don't give a shit. They should be
perfectly
the same.
respectable. Perfectly respectable
answer. I don't give a shit
answer.
is the perfect answer in this day and age. And on that bombshell, it's time to go.
Ta-ra.
I've nicked Top Gear's ending. I'm so sorry, Top Gear. Don't sue me. They won't. I'm not. It
also wasn't a bombshell. On that rather bland piece of information, that sexism is dead, and we don't care whether or not characters are male or female.
I think that's a bombshell for Tumblr. I think they're actually powered by it, to be perfectly honest. And on that bombshell,
on the bombshell that the previous bombshell was a bombshell.
Yes, it is time to end Bombshell Cubed.
Okay.
Piss off. Goodbye.
Bye.
Podcast and music. Podcast and music. Podcast and music. We really should get some podcast and music.
Yes, we should.
Yeah.